So what we saw in last night's budget was the start of a reform process. I think we saw some hard decisions and sacred cows tackled. The decision to reform superannuation was something that is difficult and will upset a lot of people, particularly because there's a retrospective element to changing rules which have been in place a long time, but simply needed to be changed to get the budget in order. So the superannuation changes are a start of a reform process. We saw a blueprint for a 10-year corporate tax reduction program. Now, some will argue with some fairness that there's a lot of promises, not a lot of action on that, but we've got to start, and what the government have done is put a marker down which is saying corporate tax reform is important and they need to get the rate lower to make our system more competitive. So I think what we saw last night was a pathway to reform. We saw some of the overly generous tax concessions around superannuation reformed, and we saw a pathway set out for how we're going to get corporate tax rates down and how we're going to deal with bracket creep. And we've also seen last night a set of rules, unbelievably vigorous rules, around integrity for large multinationals. So all the ingredients are there to take, I guess, the problems and the issues off the table to create room and space for the conversation for true tax reform. There's trust in the system. Some of the overly generous tax concessions have been dealt with. Bracket creep's now on the table, but we've now got to get to the real issue of shifting the tax mix. So over the next 12 months, a clear trend is going to emerge. The Revenue Authority in this country is extremely well resourced, a 55% increase in capacity for the tax office. They've got a range of new rules to apply, so corporates are going to have to come up with a strategy for how they respond, both in respect of dealing with the Revenue Authority, but as importantly around the transparency measures, how they respond to the Australian community and really win back the battle on proving they do pay a fair share and pay the right amount of tax so they can create the trust in the community around what they pay so we can get on with the real tax reform conversations.